How do aliens organize a party? They plan it. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. This is Kelsey.
Hello.
That's it.
I told you I didn't have anything.
I thought you were going to do a little jig at least.
You didn't like the jig I suggested and you made me upset about it.
Isn't it kind of my place to make you upset about my reaction to how you say it?
But I'm funny, so you should,
This week we prepared for Alien Romulus with 1979's Alien. So what do you think the story was?
A group of scientists, astronauts, people.
They were workers of a sort. They were transporting.
I don't know. Anyways, they're on a ship that diverts to a different planet and an alien gets on board and,
Chaos ensues.
chaos ensues. Dun, dun, dun.
So this movie's obviously not the one most people are familiar with. Most people are familiar with Aliens, but this is of course the start. And it opens up with the Nostromo ship, which has got a crew of 7 on it. They have been sleeping in cryosleep on their way back home, and they get woken up by the ship's AI system called Mother, and it's programmed to wake them up if there is an SOS or certain conditions are met, and there is a persistent signal coming from a planet. I do want to say that when it's opening up and it's just kind of scanning the interior of the ship, I think it looked really good. It looks real.
Yeah, it only took 45 minutes to show the opening, but sure.
I just feel like it looks lived in. It feels not just like a set that was made for the movie. I believe it was real.
Well, that's to the movie's credit then, am I right?
I mean, it just feels like you were mad that it scanned the ship.
I'm not mad about it. I told you. I just think that it takes a long time to get to that point. It's a 2-hour movie and the opening credit was 20 minutes.
Thank God.
I know it's supposed to lean into the horror of it all, but the horror hasn't really set in yet. So that's just my personal opinion.
So the crew has to go investigate this persistent signal, and they go to this planet. They have a shuttle that's attached to the Nostromo. They are going to take the shuttle, and I also wrote down, I thought it was cool that when they're taking the shuttle, they make a big thing of them separating this shuttle from the ship, in the sense that it's not just a lot of sci-fi stuff where this is just how it is. It's easy. It's as good as driving a car to them. It seems like they're doing a whole launch sequence like a rocket when they're trying to get it off. I just thought that again adds to the world building. But anyway, they get down onto this planet and they're investigating, and they find a bunch of eggs.
And an alien spaceship. And I'm just telling you, if I saw a weird alien ship on a planet I've never been to, I would turn my ass around and go home. I wouldn't be let me look at this egg.
I certainly would not be touching any wet eggs.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And of course, the egg opens up and out comes what is now known as a face hugger that attaches itself to Kane, one of the crew member that actually went down on the planet. And so Dallas and Lambert are the other 2 that actually were on the planet, and they're bringing Kane back to the ship to try and deal with this face hugger situation. Now they have a protocol where you can't let somebody on the ship within 24 hours. Yeah, they're supposed to be quarantined. And Dallas, being the captain, is I don't give a fuck about that. Open it up. Ripley is no, I'm not going to do that. You would do the same thing in my situation.
I agree with Ripley.
Yeah, she's doing what's right.
She did the right thing.
That's what I said.
And Ash was nah, I'm going to open the door.
Ripley, the only one doing what they need to. And yeah fucking Ash is just opens the door. Doesn't even argue with them.
He's a little bitch. Don't listen.
Yeah. I will say, most of my trivia is actually about this following kind of sequence.
Okay.
Let me just say that the face hugger is attached to Kane's face, and it is they try and cut it off, and it wraps its tail around his neck tighter, so they can't pull it off. When they try and cut it as well, acid comes out. They just have to leave it. They don't know what to do. It does just come off. They leave the room, and then when they come back, it's fallen off, and it's dead, I guess. It's in the ceiling, so it's it crawled away long enough for that, but it dies. Kane wakes up, and everything seems to be fine. He's just I don't really remember what happened.
Let me tell you, I would not be letting him come and eat dinner at the dinner table.
Where's the quarantine?
Absolutely. I don't understand.
But...
And I will say, Ripley became suspicious of Ash and questioned him and was I'm supposed to be the officer in charge. You should have listened to me. and he didn't and doesn't care. And so she did the right thing in standing up for herself, but I think that that's
Absolutely.
pretty important to the story development.
Yeah. Before we continue exactly with what happens with Kane here, so that face hugger, it's an iconic thing now. Like, people who haven't even seen this movie have probably seen a face hugger. It was planned to be painted green, but one of the writers, Dan O'Bannon, saw the unpainted face hugger on set, and he noted how inventive its Caucasian flesh tone color was, and so he argued for it to remain that color. I do think green might have looked a little just more fake.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if that makes sense, but I
Because
think
everyone,
it looks good.
like in movies and stuff and shows, they always make aliens green.
Especially early, yeah. All alien things were green. So Kane suddenly starts convulsing there and falls to the table.
An alien just bursts out of his chest.
Yeah, and it's a very famous scene now. And the two things I have about that scene is a lot of people think it was filmed in one take. It was actually filmed twice because on the first take, the chest burster was unable to cut through Kane's shirt. And so they had to reset and shoot it again. But the failed attempt for it to cut through the shirt, it's like visibly looks like it's struggling. And so Ridley Scott thought that it looked better. And that's actually the version that you see in the movie because he thinks it makes it look more violent, that it doesn't immediately come through the shirt. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's tearing out of him, and
Yeah.
that would take like some work.
I do think it's important to note that right before this happens, they're talking about how Ash replaced a scientist 2 days before this mission is supposed to be set off.
Yes, because
And
Ripley doesn't
so-
trust Ash because she's upset, obviously, about him just letting them in. And I will say, Ash, the whole time that this dinner scene's happening, he's staring at Kane. He's just focused on him 100%. Like,
My theory was that he killed the person that he replaced, which we find out later, like, that's not true. But I do think it's an important part of the story where you start questioning, like, who Ash really is and why he's doing what he's doing.
And for that chest burster sequence, like, of him laying on the table there, so John Hurt, that played Kane, he stuck his head and shoulders and arms through a hole in the table and linked up with a mechanical torso that was packed with compressed air and lots of animal guts, which, according to Sigourney Weaver, caused the set to smell horribly, and the rest of the cast were not told that the real blood and guts were being used so that they would have, like, their genuine reaction to it, which, every time I read shit like that, I'm like, you don't gotta do that. It's so gross.
That's just like the Rick Grimes thing in The
Yes.
Walking Dead when he
Raw chicken.
when he does the raw chicken to bite that guy's neck, and he's like,
just put something
and then
else.
he's like, at 3 a.m. I knew I made the wrong decision. Sir, you no,
Ugh.
absolutely not.
But yeah, so their reactions in that scene are genuine, and it's a good scene. Like, I think it really starts off like how horrific everything that's happening is happening. So out of his chest comes this baby alien, and they don't call it a xenomorph in this movie, but everyone that is familiar with these movies knows, I guess at this point, that's what they are. The alien bursts out of its chest. It's a tiny little thing. I mean, it looks like, I don't know.
A little cat.
It looks like, something from fucking Space Jam or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it crawls away and escapes, and so they decide they have to go hunting for it.
It's kicking its legs.
Yeah.
It looks like one of those lizards that stands up and runs.
Oh,
Have you ever
yeah.
seen those?
Yeah. Is it the one that got kissing Kate Barlow
Yeah.
in holes?
The yellow spotted lizard.
Yeah.
So they let the thing go, which I questioned because one of them tries to go get it and they're like, well, hold on.
I thought
What are
Ash held him back.
Maybe it was Ash. You're probably right. Regardless, I'm like, no.
He's like, we need it alive.
Go get it.
Yeah.
But they let it go, which is why the rest of the movie happens.
Yeah, and then they go searching for it. They figure out it's in the air vents. One of the mechanics, Brett.
One of the mechanics, Brett, like, goes searching for a cat they have on board Jones. He's the first to die. He, he finds the cat, but the alien swoops down on him, and it's huge now. Already.
It's
like,
the alien everyone's super familiar with.
Yeah, it kills him, and it's just crazy how fast it grew. Like, I don't know their exact... I know that the later movies discuss something about, depending on what it's been, like, birthed with, like, it affects it, but it's crazy how fast it grew. Like, they thought they were looking for this tiny thing that they had to deal with. It wasn't going to be a big deal. After that, yes, they're in the vents. Dallas goes into the vents, the captain, looking for it. He has a flamethrower because that's the one thing that Ash offers them when they're like, Ripley's like, well, why doesn't the science department have, like, an idea? What are we supposed to do? And Ash says something about maybe they can't handle extreme temperatures, which does end up being true, that the alien doesn't like fire, but he dies in the vent, He just gets cornered. And
I think what's really funny about that scene for me, and you'll remember us watching this movie. I wasn't expecting the jump scare like that, and it was like a comical jump
The
scare.
way that, yeah, it's weird.
It's a super weird. It just like a flash of light, and you see the alien, and he almost looks like he's smiling.
His hands are just
and his
to the
hands
side.
are
He's
out,
like, ah.
and yeah, and I went. Like,
yeah.
And then you don't even see him die, but I thought that was a really funny
It certainly
scene.
gets you, but you can see that it's a 1979 like jump scare.
Yeah, for sure.
Unrelated to that, but just what I was mentioning before, I did wonder why they had a cat in space. They were on
Maybe it was
one of theirs,
Nick
like
Fury's
a
goose.
flurgan.
The flurgan? Yeah. Maybe that was the alien all along. Maybe that's my sequel. Maybe it's not.
Maybe the aliens are the friends we made along the way.
Anyways, after
Dallas dies.
Are you copying me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Ripley is pissed off and is going to go use the AI to figure out what to do because she keeps trying to get information from Ash, and Ash is just like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah. She's going to get information about Ash to Mother because she smells what he's...
Well, no, she goes in there and she starts off by asking Mother completely just like, what do we do about the alien? And Mother's just like, don't know what you mean.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
she tries to get, as she's trying to get more information, she meets a like lock that says like this is only for the science department's eyes, and she's able to see that Ash has like a separate mission that is to ensure that the specimen, like the
Gets
fucking
back.
alien, gets back
Alive.
and it says the crew's expendable.
Yes.
Like,
meanwhile, Ash walks in the room and tries
silently
to kill her.
he tried to shove a magazine in her mouth. You're a robot. Certainly there's easier ways than what you're doing.
No, he tried to murder her. He was choking her out until Parker came in the room.
But yeah, so when Parker comes in the room, he like grabs Parker's chest and is like squeezing it.
Yeah, he's trying to rip his heart out.
Why not just do that to Ripley? What are you shoving a magazine in her mouth?
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So, anyways, turns out Ash is a robot. They destroy him, and he is a big, milky mess.
And he's drinking milk through the whole movie. It's really
disgusting.
strange.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Do these robots run on milk?
Listen, I don't want to know.
And has nobody, like, how long have they been working with him? Have they ever been like, we've never seen you eat, you just drink milk? But Ash, yeah, they destroy him, but they, like, bring his head back to life. And I want to say, the reveal that Ash is a villain and a robot is crazy, because you're expecting the alien is the main bad guy.
Yeah, I also think it's really quick
Yeah.
and rushed. And I know they tried to make this movie visually, like, stunning, and it was. I just feel like sometimes it was spent too long on that and didn't have enough character development for me to even be like, I was just like, fuck you, Ash. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think with Ash, like, even they weren't very connected to him because he hadn't been there, but just the fact that you don't know that robots exist in this universe until Ash is revealed, and so that's unique. Like,
yeah.
Otherwise, you might assume he was just evil, like just a bad human, but there is bad humans, I guess, the fucking company who sent them on this fake mission.
So after this, Parker, Lambert, and Ripley decide that they're going to detonate the ship and escape in the escape ship.
Yeah. And then Parker and Lambert are killed on an unexplained side mission. They're going to get, I don't know.
They're just throwing
just junk
into the floor.
Gotta save this junk.
On the floor, though.
Yeah, and so they die because the alien hears them.
I was a little sad Parker died. My mans didn't deserve that.
Well, he had like kind of like a joyful personality in the scenes where they were normal, so
yeah.
It does make it seem more sad. So it's just Ripley and Jones, the cat, and she sets the ship to detonate, and she goes to escape to the shuttle, and the alien's in the way. And she just goes back and she tries to stop the ship. It seems like it's just kind of padding, but I guess it's also, it's the desperation of she doesn't know what to do. Like, she's kind of becoming emotional and losing her cool. She can't stop the ship from detonating.
Are you saying she's losing her cool because the ship's also starting to overheat?
No.
Eh?
So she gets the flamethrower and she goes back, and suddenly the alien's not there. She snatches up Jones, she gets to the shuttle and starts flying away. And she's like, I did it. She puts fucking Jones in cryosleep, and she's getting ready to go into cryosleep herself. And then the alien's there. And it's certainly shocking and scary, but I didn't understand. is it hurt? Is it stuck? It was just kind of like in the wall.
Yeah, and then he escaped after she was gassing it
And I
and
didn't know what
killing
she was
it.
doing with the gas. Like, what
Yeah.
is. I was kind of confused about the ending. And I understand the horror of you're in a much smaller ship now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no escaping. And so I have to believe that he was, like, stuck. But I also understand how he was stuck. Because it's not like he got in there last minute and got caught in the door. Like, he apparently was already on there.
Yeah, I agree. And anyways, he gets out.
She opens the airlock and he's getting sucked
Yeah.
out, but he grabs on and she has a grappling hook.
A
that
grappling hook,
she just
yeah.
bops off the top of his head.
And then
He, he gets knocked out. He latches onto the ship's engines and she, like, full blasts it and just blows him away into space. He's probably not dead.
yeah, well, he did detach from the thing, though. He's probably just floating in space like Master Chief. But I think something for me, though, is at the end, she's like, I'm the final survivor of the Nostromo. And...
What about Jones?
Well, she also...
I'm just kidding.
Anyways, she says, I'll be home in 6 weeks. 2 days prior, it was 10 months. Do you remember? They were still 10 months from the destination and they were wondering why Mother woke them up.
On top of that, I thought that initially they said when they were like, well, we could just go to the shuttle and abandon the ship. They were like, that's a terrible idea. We will have no idea if anyone will find us. We'll never make it. Like, they sounded like the shuttle wasn't... Like, the shuttle was just last ditch, like, we might die.
Yeah, so I don't think there's food. I don't know.
Regardless, I do think that final line is, like, iconic and feels badass. She's like, this is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. But, she got away. The last two pieces of trivia I have here is Ridley Scott. He cites 3 movies as shaping the influence on this movie. Star Wars: A New Hope.
You could see it.
Yeah, the way that the space around the ship looks and the way the ships move, all that does seem reminiscent of that. Also, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and so both of those went into their depiction of outer space. And then the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the horror, which
interesting.
I can see that, but also, I fucking hate those movies.
Yeah, you do. You sure do.
Now, 20th Century Fox doubled the budget from $4.2 million to $8.4 million just based on the strength of seeing Ridley Scott's storyboards.
Did it make it up? Did it make the money?
I believe so.
Interesting.
But it's crazy that they just saw like a
poster board and we're like, yeah,
they're
this
like,
is
absolutely,
Yeah.
double that shit.
Yeah.
These days, it feels like they'll see a poster board and they're like, well, do you really need this? Like, could we maybe just cut this for money?
Yeah, I know.
Which it worked out for them because, here we are so many years later and we have another sequel coming.
True that.
Anyway, I rated this movie a 4 out of 5. I think it's really good. I do think that it shows its age in how this would be a lot more horrific if I went blind into a theater to see it and never heard of this movie. But I already know what the alien looks like. I already know kind of the premise. If you were seeing this for the first time in the 70s, pre-fucking internet and shit like that, it would be horrific. But I think it's lost some of that just on knowledge.
I think you're right. I gave it a 3.5 and it was mainly because I didn't feel any connection to any of the characters. I was just like, oh well, they died. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the movie tried to do a lot more of trying to make it visually scary and visually stunning than it did developing the story. And it kind of seemed like it got lost a little bit, but it was still good.
Okay, so I am going to present you... This is dumb, and I know.
Okay.
I'm not good at coming up with games.
You're doing your best. It shows.
Thanks for that.
I like the games.
I really needed the positivity.
I said I liked the games.
Games is almost the wrong word for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it.
Scenario?
It's not even always a scenario, though. I just like to add a little, breaker between the sequels and the main movie. Just give somebody a laugh, something to think about, things like that. I don't know.
I like it.
Anyway, what if this was the alien that they encountered that popped out of Kane's chest?
Okay.
Number 1 is a Kryptonian.
Dead. Everyone's dead. Nobody survives.
You're right. It would probably just immediately, if it popped out of its chest, it would just also go through the hull and their whole ship would crash and die.
Exactly.
Okay. Stitch, Experiment 626.
I think that some of them would die, but I think that Ripley would ultimately convince Stitch to be on her side. And Stitch and Jones would be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would kill a few of them first.
Ash, for sure.
Oh my god. E.T.
Phone home, baby.
They would probably beat him to death on the table.
They probably would beat him to death, and he would be, crying. And
oh,
as
stop.
his last words will be his finger up. phone.
No. Frank the pug from Men in Black.
They'd all be besties at the table. He'd get in on whatever cereal and oats they'd be eating, and
He
he'd
did
be
just
like,
burst through his
he'd
chest.
be like, now which one of you am I rooming with?
Oh my god. Okay. The Flood from Halo.
Everyone's dead.
Dead. Probably the whole universe.
Everyone's dead.
That's probably the worst one.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
let me ask you, could any of them beat the Xenomorph? Any of those aliens?
The Kryptonian and the Flood.
Not Stitch?
I don't think Stitch could, no.
You're probably right. But also, in the follow-up to the movies, like, they can kill the aliens. They just can't do it in this one.
Right. I mean, Stitch has a 50. I'd say, like...
He has a good chance.
He loses 5 to 6 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 50-50 shot. But the Flood, not losing. Because when one of them bitches die, they just pile on top of one another and make a new person.
And they would just take over the Xenomorph and, like, use his body now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and the Kryptonian can fly away and, like, burst through things. Laser vision, absolutely.
I guess that's assuming they're near a sun. Because Kryptonians get their power from solar radiation. If there's no sun, then it's just like a dude.
It's just a dude thinking about a dude.
Close. All right. Obviously, there's several sequels to this movie, but what is your sequel?
Because there's so many sequels, went a different route.
Alien the Musical?
Yes.
Nice.
Actually. Thank you. It's actually a Broadway play I set up and wrote.
Beautiful.
Anyways, it's called Aliens, but the S is in parentheses. Aliens.
Well, I hate this already, so sell me on it. No, don't be like that.
I don't even want to keep going.
No, I'm sorry.
It's going to be a remake.
Okay.
In a Netflix series similar to Stranger Things.
I like a series for this. I think this would do well as a series.
I think the show should start off with how the crew is being selected. Mm-hmm. So the first big twist is that viewers will know Ash is a robot and has a completely separate mission from everyone else, and will know details behind why the other guy was.
I think that's good
because
if we already have seen the original, watching a remake, we know he's the bad guy. No need to hide it, but hide it from the crew, give it to the audience.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also think, like I said, something I was missing in the movie was character development, and I think showing why people are selected, how they meet before they get on the ship,
shit like that, like as they're saying goodbye to their families.
Yeah, all of that will provide character development, and so it's giving the audience something to root for or root against, right? I think that it could also do well in like a documentary style, with an old, because Sigourney Weaver being Ripley, and she, like in Titanic when she's like, it's been 84 years.
Maybe like an interview that starts off, she's back and she's explaining everything that happened.
Yeah, exactly. But she's
like
really
a found
old.
footage shit as well.
Yeah, like she's really old and explaining, because I think that all the sequels, right, even if you're going to change some details about the show, could be a season. Yeah. So I think that that's the way I would want to do it. She's recounting events of her past, and then the show is the flashbacks. Yeah. And found footage. The seasons will continue with the next movies. I think in the first season, when you first see the alien and at a like cliffhanger, very important part of the series, the episode ends and you're like, I have to see the next one. And then when you play the next one, it has nothing to do with that. I think that should be where Prometheus comes in. A single episode of the alien origin. Yeah. And then it almost seems like a filler, but it's really not a filler.
They do that. They do leave you on cliffhangers and shows, and then the next episode is like, now I gotta tell you this backstory.
I think it would be like 3 to 5 seasons, but that's my idea.
I like it. Would Predator be in any of the seasons? Could we do Alien vs. Predator? The final season?
Yeah, you could.
Okay. Well,
did you like the title?
I like the whole thing now.
Get it?
Yeah. All right.
It's probably one of the best ideas I've come up with in a while. I'm not going to lie.
Look, my title, after talking shit, and now I'm going to present my title, I'm quite embarrassed.
Is it Alien 2, Electric Boogaloo?
No. Oh. It's just The Alien.
I would like everyone to know. I need the entire court to hear. He made fun of my title,
Here
and
we
then
go.
all he came up with himself was the alien.
I added a word.
I added an apostrophe or parentheses S.
I'm saying I added more.
No, my idea's better. I already know. People better go vote.
Okay, so we see the Nostromo exploding and several pieces of it flying out into space.
So is this a direct sequel then?
It takes place directly after the damn Nostromo explodes.
After she gets all the radiation exposure.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Meanwhile, a cruise liner spaceship is seen traveling with tens of thousands of people on board celebrating various things on vacation.
Ooh.
Suddenly, a violent shake happens and the passengers are alerted that the ship ran into some debris, but it's nothing to worry about. We see the captain of the ship being told the truth that whatever hit the hull caused some damage and that they will need to be repaired, or that it will need to be repaired immediately. So the ship must stop at the first planet it sees to allow repairs to happen. The first possible stop happens to be the same egg-filled location that the Nostromo landed, only due to their interference, many of the eggs are seen open. As the crew finishes repairs, the ship takes off, seemingly safe from harm, until we see a passenger stumbling back to the room, very drunk, and upon entering their room alone, they are jumped by a facehugger. Later, this passenger finds their way back to the party, telling their friends they had a strange nightmare and they're going to lay off the alcohol. Of course, this means little, as moments later, surrounded by his friends, the passenger starts convulsing and an alien bursts from their chests. People begin screaming as the chaos starts and the alien runs away. The captain and the crew of the ship try to calm the passengers and cover up what happened, claiming it was some medical emergency, and the rest of the crew will be fine, but soon we find multiple facehuggers have got on board and several passengers have become victims. As more aliens grow larger and begin killing the crew and guests, the captain tries to call out for help, and they are told the military is on the way as the cruise ship comes to a halt due to the large crew needed to operate such a large ship being mostly killed off or in hiding. So, the ship's out here just frozen and can't move, waiting on the military. We just have to a timer now. And then from that point, I'm trying to get back to mostly the horror, because the follow-up to these films, at least a few of them, become very actiony, which I don't think is a problem for what they've done. But
right.
Going back to just the horror aspect, I'm thinking at this point we have a ship that is just several people scattered across it that don't really know each other, that are trying to survive, and I want it to become almost like a quiet place where everything is quiet, everyone's trying to be quiet and hide, and they can't do anything. They're stuck on this ship, they just have to wait. And so that's, most of the film is you'd see people hiding, trying to stay quiet, you'd see people being killed, people watching their family get killed as they're trying to be quiet, that kind of thing. Just doing whatever they can to survive, and as the military finally arrives, the captain is cornered, and he cheers only for his smile to quickly deflate as he calls out to the military over the radio. He is met with silence as the military ship flying by launches a nuclear weapon at the ship. As the explosion engulfs the ship, the film cuts to black.
You went Cloverfield.
Basically,
Yeah, it's super similar to that. I like it though.
And, I'd see some kind of reveal that the military obviously knows everything about the alien that they can, because they are the ones that are involved in sending Ash with them to bring it back so they can make a weapon. So, when they got the call, they were just like, well, there's nothing we can do about that. We just blow up the ship.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe find one of the aliens floating in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a good idea.
Thank you.
I don't know if it should be called The Alien, but
I know.
Just kidding.
Especially since I specifically said there was more than one.
Yeah, but that's okay. You did your best. You could just say The Alien.
Well, originally...
Parentheses. Let's combine our titles, and you take the parentheses S, and I'll just keep my title, okay?
Okay. Originally, I was going to have the alien from the first movie just flying through space and hit the ship.
That's what I was going to say. Did you, it was Master Chief in Halo 5?
Infinite,
yeah, so 6, technically. Never mind. But yeah, I figured that's the way you were going, or like Thor in
I wanted
Endgame,
to do that, but then I was
Infinity
like, well,
War.
you lose out on the face huggers. You can't use them if it's just the one alien.
That's correct.
But
yeah.
And I think, especially for me saying it's like a cruise ship, being able to infect people with this thing and then have them just walking around adds to the horror, because you're like, when is this going to happen?
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Twitter. We are NansPod everywhere. If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or let us know your idea across our socials with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you are listening. If you wouldn't mind, share a show with someone, leave us a review, and come back for more. We would love to have you and hear what we can do to improve. Next week, we're watching Footloose on Paramount Plus.
Footloose, kick up your Sunday shoes.
All right,
Jeez, Louise.
take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week. And remember, in space, no one can hear you scream.
Dun, dun, dun. Bye.